now it's the sad part of it where you have to be a bit mean. Who's been your biggest letdown this season in terms of the teams?
It has to be Chelsea. And again, I thought about, some other teams, Liverpool has been disappointing and all that. But when you spend that sort of money, and you look at Chelsea, how terrible they've been. I mean, all these years, I almost want to say that a lot of these players, okay, the board spent a lot of money. We can talk about Todd Bowley, obviously being an experience coming in and trying to do it his way, even though he didn't really truly understand what Premier League is all about. And I think it's for all of us to see. But some of these players taking things for granted, really. I mean, these, we can say young players, but they're earning incredible amount of money. I mean, a lot of these players aren't worth it. I mean, I think they're privileged. And to see how many losses on the season for that, to see how many times they threw up a white flag, to see the lack of character of all the great Chelsea teams. I mean, that to me was incredible, right? And you look at the managers and all of that. I just never thought that Chelsea Football Club could be at a place like this with everything that transpired ahead of the game. I mean, granted that they went through a cyclone, and that needs to be, I think, brought up because they're just not used to it, I suppose, and maybe they never saw it coming. Maybe they felt, well, it's going to happen like it did before. New manager, new life, new broom in town, somehow we get it done. But certainly massive, massive disappointment. And I don't like to bring money into players or teams because at the end of the day, you have to make a decision about a profile of a player or profile of a manager. I don't necessarily think they were absolutely wrong with Graham Potter in terms of a profile and how he plays. Maybe the inexperienced part, I think, but huge disappointment.
Who's your biggest letdown player of the season?
And I don't enjoy saying that because again, I think he's such a great player. But for me, it was Heung-min Son. You had somebody different. I take it.
No, do you know what? This is the only place I didn't write anything. I hate this. And especially just in my role, I thought it's not for me to say. But it's really interesting to hear why you would pick him.
Well, because I just remember season before that, right? I mean, top of the scoring charts together with Mo Salah, 23 goals. It was, I shouldn't say arguably, for me, the player of the season. He didn't get that, but for me, he was the best player in the season. I mean, his partnership with Harry Kane, not only was he scoring, but obviously they were both assisting each other as well. He was such an important player. Just a couple of seasons earlier, I think 21, 22, he also had like 22 goals as well. I mean, he was in such good form, such an important player for that team as well. I think, for the most part, a very likable figure that's worked extremely hard for his team without kind of taking the glory, almost second to Harry Kane almost every season. But yet, you look what he meant to not only Harry Kane, but for Spurs, and to see now 10 goals, which isn't horrible, but if you have to remember, so many games without scoring, couple games where he did have a hat trick, maybe 2 goals, and a massive drop. I just didn't see that coming because even if we look aside from the goals, right? I mean, he didn't look the same type of player and always frustrated and never comfortable, really. Didn't make an impact that he's done in the past. So one of the biggest drops that I can remember from one season to the other. And of course, that has to do with the team, how they perform, managers coming in and out, of course, as well, which is important. So, it wasn't easy for me because, sometimes when we pick them, you're almost tempted to have a dig at the player as well. But I'm very, very far from it. And I hope next season he's going to be back to his best.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.